Hello, and welcome to the Byzantine News Network's nightly report. For the past few weeks, the plague of Justinian has been ravaging Constantinople and the rest of the empire. Tonight, I interview Augustus Gold, an expert on Justinian's policy, to learn the ins and outs of how Justinian is dealing with the onset of what may be the largest plague Constantinople has ever seen. Well, as many of you know, the situation in Justinian's administration is pretty hectic. We've gotten statements from many government officials about the ongoing crisis, but many people wish that Justinian himself would come out and say something, considering the circumstances. But, he can't run the empire on his own, and that's why we have a bureaucratic government here in Constantinople. Of course, Justinian has many government workers that he uses to help him run the day-to-day of the empire. But what's the news on Justinian's position on this crisis? Who does he think caused it? Well, we're still trying to figure out exactly how the plague got here. Justinian's report blames the Abbasid Caliphate, our neighbors to the southeast, for deliberately bringing in the plague via trade. That wouldn't surprise me. The Abbasid Empire has been slowly trying to take over our lands for years and years now. Sure, but they haven't invaded us formally in recent years. The Abbasid government wasn't aggressively expansionist, whereas us Byzantines have been taking over lands to the west in the hope of restoring the power of the original Roman Empire. Well, whether or not the Abbasids actually did this, I'm concerned about what could happen to our economy. Constantinople thrives on trade on the Silk Road, which the Abbasid Empire is our only connection to. Justinian has also had a lot of pro-trade policy, including sponsoring the construction of protected harbors and covered marketplaces, but if he cuts off trade with the Abbasids, our great empire would be further crippled. Of course, and that's why it's so important to consider that the Abbasids may not even have been responsible for the plague. Some people are even considering that the plague may have been a curse from God. An act of God? Really? What could be the reason for that? Nobody is sure, but it would not be good, given that Justinian does, after all, control the church. If he can't get this curse to stop, who can? Well, that would be a little bit surprising, given how much he's done to support religious art. He built the great Hagia Sophia Church and filled it with golden mosaics depicting holy figures, all funded by the state, I might add. That eases my mind. On a lighter note, there may be some good to come out of the horrible tragedy of this plague. Really? Who could possibly benefit from all of the lost lives? Well, just think about all of the slaves in Atta Scriptae working in the many themes of the empire. If their masters fall victim to the plague, they'll basically be free. Free? But our laws support slavery. In fact, isn't it illegal for people to take in fugitive slaves? Yes, but with nobody on the farms, slaves may be able to live free, at least for a little while. And there is hope for their children. But won't their children also be slaves? The social classes here in the Byzantine Empire are fairly rigid. Actually, not if they marry a woman of higher status. Social law in Constantinople states that social class of children follows the mother, and women can't have their class lowered if they marry a slave. Wow, I guess women actually had some rights after all. Well, that's about it for today. Join us next week when we ask the Visigoths what they think of the new rule.